Do you all sense that? That sounds like a brand new marathon starting. Now, this marathon will be as long as my Devil May Cry marathon, but not as long as my Castlevania Timeline marathon, thankfully, since there are only 8 games that I'll be covering, one being a kart racing spin-off, and the other being a sort of tech demo for PlayStation Move, and the third being a mobile phone game. I'm of course talking about Media Molecule's 2008 launch game on the PlayStation 3, Little Big Planet. LittleBigPlanet is a puzzle platformer sandbox game released for the PlayStation 3 on October 27, 2008 here in North America, October 21st in the UK and Ireland, and finally October 30th in Japan. It was developed by the aforementioned Media Molecule and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. With the success of the first game, 7 more games have spawned. We have LittleBigPlanet 2, LittleBigPlanet on LittleBigPlanet on PSP, LittleBigPlanet on the Vita, and LittleBigPlanet 3. I don't know if I already said this. LittleBigPlanet 3 on both the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4. LittleBigPlanet on the Vita, Sackboy's Prehistoric Move, karting, and the mobile game Run Sackboy Run. So there was also this odd little project I found while doing some research for this video called LittleBigPlanet Hub, a canceled project that was supposed to be a free-to-play game for the PS3, and it would allow players to create as well as have community levels from both LBP 1 and 2, as well as 16 story mode levels. There was also going to be some weekly challenges not found in any other LBP games. But unfortunately, since its announcement on August of 2013, there were no further details about LittleBigPlanet Hub. But anyway, enough with the history lesson. Let's review LittleBigPlanet 1 on the PlayStation 3. Okay, so the story of LittleBigPlanet is set in a world full of creations made by creator-curators. I try saying that 5 times fast. Creator-curator, creator-curator, creator... And one of the curators, a rogue one called the Collector, is stealing the other creator's creations and not sharing them with the world. That, of course, being one of the core elements of LittleBigPlanet as well as the entire franchise. Players start at the Gardens level, where the player meets the king, one of the curators, the queen, Lil Zim, Big Zam, and Dumpty. The player is taught the basic gameplay at this stage, that of course being running, jumping, and grabbing. Now, grabbing is controlled using the L1 and R1 shoulder buttons, but if you click on R3, you can actually control your avatar's pelvis. I think that's how it works. The next setting is the Savannah, where the player accidentally breaks one of the ruler's creations. In return for forgiveness, the player must investigate what's scaring the ruler's buffalo. The African Savannah level is what I consider a fair enough challenge. Granted, I feel like the jumping is a bit stiff, and Sackboy tends to slide off more rounded platforms, which is a pain straight up my rectum. Oy, oy, oy. Further adventure involves finding Meerkat's mom, son, and a bridegroom, with that story arc with that kind of Day of the Dead theme, i.e. the characters are skeletons. After the wedding, we move on to the canyons, where the player must rescue Uncle Jalapeno and defeat the evil sheriff Zapata. Sorry if I mispronounced that name. Zapata. I think that's how you pronounce it, actually. After completing this, the player is now taken to the Metropolis and gets into a car for a race scenario. The next adventure takes place on the islands, where the player is trained in martial arts to defeat the terrible Oni. Up next is the temples, to get a flame-throwing cat. Yes, this actually happens in the game. Here they meet the Great Magician, who tells them to defeat the Collector in his wilderness And after the final battle against the Collector, he is revealed to be a little lonely man who kidnapped everyone because he did not have any friends. Excuse me? Anyway, everyone, including the player, offers to be his friend and he accepts, ending his being evil thing. So that was pretty much the story for LittleBigPlanet 1. It had obviously aged kind of poorly, but not too poorly. It is the first game in the series, so I won't be going too harsh on it. But let's move on to that gameplay, shall we? The gameplay of LittleBigPlanet is of course a 2.5D style platformer, much like Castlevania The Dracula X Chronicles of Rondo of Blood. I honestly kind of love this style of gameplay. I love it with most modern Sonic games, and I certainly love it with most modern Mario games. But the biggest feature, however, is the use of stickers and decorations. You can find them in prize bubbles hidden throughout the levels in the story mode. If you're a completionist like Gerard Khalil, you will most likely be sick and tired of going back and forth to other levels. I just suggest using a guide to see what stickers or decoration you need to solve with what puzzle. Overall, I I quite love the gameplay. But as I said, I but like I said when I was talking about the savannas, the jumping can feel stiff and Sackboy, at least for me, had a tendency to slip off of more rounded platforms. Now, the largest part of the franchise in general is the global community features through the PSN for the players to interact and share their own creations. I think people, even today in the year 2019, soon to be 2020, still play the first ever LittleBigPlanet game online, whether it's community levels or going through the story mode. Even though going through the story of the game lags and gets more choppy than me trying to record a Horror Kid Plays episode with a Steam game while using OBS. But can I still recommend the original LittleBigPlanet? If you want to see how the series started, then go right ahead. It's not that expensive to get pre-owned, especially if you have a PlayStation 3 like I do. I don't know if it's available on PlayStation Now via the PlayStation 4, but there are other and better LittleBigPlanet games to play. Like the one that we're going to be looking at next, LittleBigPlanet 2. But overall, I'm giving LittleBigPlanet 1, I want to say an 8.5 out of 10 actually. Trust me, I do love this. But the slippy-esque platforming and kinda stiff jump is annoying, and the lag when playing online is just as, if not more annoying. If you do have spare PlayStation 3 controllers, then it can make some great moments with either family or friends. But I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, click like if you did enjoy it, or if you didn't, dislike it. Subscribe, it'll help me out a lot. Turn on that notification bell for new videos, as well as follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Links are down below. I've been Horrorkit, and I will see you all when I review LittleBigPlanet 2. Thanks for watching, everyone, and take care.